everyone. I am doing my second little video. I'm in my kitchen. I just got home from shopping and I figured that I want to do these little videos as authentic as possible. I'm not really after a professional look or anything. I really want to share from my authentic self, and so sometimes I might show up if I do these more regularly. I'll just see how it flows, how it goes, if I'm enjoying them, and if I'm finding it helpful, and if people can let me know if it's useful or not. I'm sure that they'll get better over time. I'll be rambling a bit in the beginning, I think, as I get used to getting a bit more concise with what I'm trying to explain. And until then, you'll just have to bear with me while I ramble on. And the reason why I want to just come from my authenticity is because I think it's really important to show up as ourselves in life, to try and sort of work through. Sometimes we need these masks and roles to keep ourselves safe and protected, and there's a place for that. For myself, I do try to, as much as possible, choose circumstances and people where I can be myself with, and I can really feel into myself and soften into myself, and so there's a real process of ongoing self-acceptance and self-love, and allowing myself not to show myself as always, on top, always doing great, always looking fantastic. And last night I slept 4 hours. I didn't sleep that well, and maybe my camera is beautifying my experience a little bit, my appearance a little bit, but I am so tired. And I've had that a bit lately. I'm doing really well, but it's just balancing different parts of myself. And as a counselor and a healer, I have to say that, you're never at some sort of healed end state and then like ping, like the oven, you put something in, it comes out, and then you're done and you're like, oh, now I can help others on their journey. It's very much a lived experience that informs yourself, not just me helping others and hopefully myself, not just me, but everyone. We have these experiences, and they inform us and they teach us, and then from that we can have compassion, understanding for others, and from that we can gather the wisdom and the strength and the compassion to help others. And when we show up as that, as really being ourselves and being loving and caring and really seeing someone and listening to them, and the way hopefully we learn to listen to ourselves and see ourselves and accept ourselves. And the more people that show up like that, the more that in society as a whole there's going to be this acceptance of all of us. And I think many of us have been hiding our quirkinesses away, and that's not a word, I know that. And our spontaneity and I'll come, I think I do in the many little videos I'll repeat myself with different examples and different things because it all sort of interconnects. I always come back to childhood. So when children are little and they can just spontaneously do whatever they want, and if we're left naturally, those things will naturally change. We won't always be as playful and as we're not like little children in a sense. We're adults, but the same way our society has over exaggerated that movement in the sense that most adults get really constricted and really sort of held back by the expectations and by the responsibility load that most of us carry. And so I think it's important to try and regain a little bit more of that. We don't have to be as playful as a child, but sometimes we do feel playful, and it's kind of nice when you can, move your body, and you can maybe skip sometimes or whatever. Yeah, I've got a big inner child aspect, so that will happen with me, but many people that won't happen. So, but even just a little bit of playfulness, a little bit of freedom in the laughter. I noticed when I first started doing healing for myself, or starting the healing process, that I realized one day I was sitting on the subway and I was so tired, I wanted to close my eyes, and I realized that I couldn't because I was feeling so self-conscious about people watching me or thinking I was weird or strange. And so then I started challenging myself, little challenges to, okay, what if I close my eyes? And then I sat there and I'm like, is someone looking at me? And it started with little things. And now I think I'm becoming more and more goofy along the way. But the nice thing is that I'm allowing my quirkiness to come through, and my real personality is coming through. And I think for some of us that's a scary thing, maybe, because we're afraid to be judged and rejected. And so I wouldn't suggest pulling it all out at once. I think that's a journey. Like, first you do little things where you go like, oh, maybe if I don't agree right away with something, and I actually allow people to hear that I'm not sure. Somebody invites you to something and you're not sure, but you're afraid they're not going to like it, and just to say, oh, let me sit with it for a little bit. Or if you haven't agreed with something inside, but you said you did agree, and then to come back to that and say to that person, look, I said I agreed, but actually I realized that I don't. I feel a bit differently about it. Or say to someone, if they want you to share something, say, well, I don't actually feel comfortable sharing that right now. I want to keep that just for myself. Or, if you're in a happy mood and you want to express yourself laughing and cheerful, and you're finding people looking at you a little bit funny, allow yourself to feel into that. Allow a little bit of that to come out, maybe not as much as you'd like if you're not comfortable with that, and then see how they react, and then just, you can take yourself away after that and just sit, okay, where am I feeling that? Where is that making me feel uncomfortable or unsure? And in that allowance of, when we're little and we want to be ourselves, and we get rejected because maybe the adults around us, it could be school, could be at home or wherever, maybe for them that was uncomfortable, or they might have had certain expectations or projections, or it might have stirred up their own stuff, and they might have said, oh, look, that's a bit loud, or that's a bit silly, or that's a bit, you've got to be more serious, you've got to be more focused, and there's a place for all that, and there's nothing wrong with that happened, because everybody is just where they're at, in their own way, doing their best. But it could have affected us, and then it gets stored with little emotions, like, oh, it's not safe to be myself, or oh, sadness, or something else. And then, so when that gets triggered, when we're older, we do something, somebody looks at us with that same look that our dad had, or our mum, or that teacher at school, or those kids that bullied us or made us feel uncomfortable, or they bullied someone else, and we saw that, and so that informed us, like, oh, I can't be like that, I don't want to be seen as weird or quirky. So those emotions get stirred up, and so what a nice, safe, loving thing to do is to don't challenge yourself too much where it gets so overwhelming. It's this tsunami of stirred up emotions. Is really not helpful, and we just go into fight or flight. And completely avoiding it is not helpful, because then we just always stay in this sort of reactive pattern of seeing how others are, and how much that allows us to be ourselves or not. So it's always dependent on the outside environment. So, but to challenge that a little bit, and then if things get stirred up, to recognize, okay, this is my stuff coming up. So then to take yourself separate, take some alone time. I think that's something that's really important if you want to start really healing a lot of the load, the emotional load, and the old patterns that we carry within us. And just to really make space, to learn to become more present to yourself, and to make more space for yourself, and to be more accepting. So like, okay, so what am I feeling? I guess my body, move the body. What does the body feel? And emotion is here. And just to feel into that emotion. And to breathe. Allow yourself to breathe. And to see, I'm really ungrounded, I'm going out. Because most of us, when we feel uncomfortable and unsafe, we go into the mind. And the mind goes off, or we go into disconnecting. And we're just not even present. We might be spacing out a lot. We might be our mind might be trying to preempt, danger. And whatever we do, we all have our patterns of ways. We might try to control, we might get angry, we we have these ways of trying to control our environment and our own inner environment. So to take time for yourself, to allow yourself to feel and to see the story, but not to get too caught up in the story all the time. Just pull it back into your body and your breath. You see the story, you go, yeah, okay, and you bring it back in. Not to believe the story 100%. That was just an experience and interpretation of what happened at one point in time, what's happening now, and what it means to you. It's never absolute in general. I mean, some things that happened are absolute. Like if you trip, you fall, that's an absolute thing. You did trip and fall, but what that means and the meaning is everything to us as people. We're storytellers. So our intention behind things and the meaning, how we embrace things and how we accept them, how we experience them, what it means and what we then do from that, how that informs us, that's all subjective. And that's very unique to us. So anyway, it's already getting to be a long video, so I will post this. And yeah, hope you're all well. Let me know if it's helpful. And wishing you all a really good day. Alright, see ya.